film of an authentic, uncompromised quest for transformation and salvation, both personal and collectively, as I vigorously interrogate the theological and symbolic meanings embedded in our society. I promise to leverage my knowledge of history, theology, and both international and domestic issues to imagine an inclusive vision for the future, which I hope will inspire all of us to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as a given, not just an aspiration. So join me weekdays at 12 noon right after Tavis Smiley for 2 hours of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Tavis, Smiley, glad to have you with us in this hour of our program. And as promised, 2 conversations this hour. On the B-side, a career conversation with Abiodun Oyewole, founding member of the Last Poets and longtime member Umar Bin Hassan. The Last Poets came together back in 1968 at Harlem's Marcus Garvey Park and have performed all over the world since then, including at the ImageNation Outdoors Film and Music Festival. And speaking of ImageNation Outdoors Film and Music Festival, we will start this hour in just a moment in conversation with Gregory Gates, executive producer of ImageNation Outdoors Film and Music Festival, and Nicole London, the Emmy Award-winning and Grammy-nominated director of the documentary The Disappearance of Miss Scott, for a preview of this weekend's free outdoor screening of the film in Harlem's Marcus Garvey Park. See what I did there? The Last Poets coming together at Marcus Garvey Park in Harlem, and yada. Okay, free screening this weekend. Okay, y'all got it. Before I start the conversation, though, with Nicole and Gregory, here now the trailer for The Disappearance of Miss Scott.
Just a minute. Who do you want to see?
I'm Hazel Scott. We're here for the audition.
Oh, Miss Scott. Yes, they're waiting for you. Go right in.
It's always bold for an artist to say that they want to step on the front line or be in the back of the line that urges the crowd to move forward. And Hazel was always ahead of this curve, too.
When I think of Hazel Scott, think of her as a pianist, think of her as an actress, think of her as a singer, think of her as an activist, and you add all those things up, she's absolutely unique.
You have someone, some 70, 80 years ago, who challenged the way blacks were portrayed in media, in Hollywood.
She's at the forefront of what would happen in later decades with the civil rights movement.
There had never been a black performer who had their own show, ever, in television. And here's this glamorous black woman who's breaking all of these barriers with this one TV show.
Let me sing a lullaby, of birdland.
She had incredible confidence, and that would sometimes get her in trouble.
Lullaby of birdland, that's what I...
She was targeted because of her outspokenness on civil rights.
She ripped them to shreds, and it cost her everything.
If you fight the establishment, you're not very popular with it.
Meeting will come to order.
And everything is done to remove you from public memory.
And there's the weepy old willow, he really knows how to cry.
The trailer is a little bit longer than that, but wanted to give you a taste of what this documentary is all about. The Disappearance of Miss Scott. I am pleased now to welcome Gregory Gates to this program. Gregory, how are you, sir?
I'm doing fine, Tavis. How you doing, brother?
Man, if I complained, I'd be an ingrate. You know me. I'm doing well, and good to have you on this program. Nicole London, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on. Let me start with you, Nicole. I think about the work that goes into a documentary. I've done a few documentary films in my own career. So I think of all the work that goes into it. Just tell me, I got a couple minutes here now. We'll continue, of course, when we come forward. But in these next couple minutes, just tell me why Hazel Scott is deserving of documentary treatment.
Well, one, she was more than just the wife of Adam Clayton Powell, the second wife, because she was a virtuistic talent, and a one-woman civil rights movement years before we'd ever heard of the Montgomery bus boycott. This was a woman who relied on her genius, her talent, and her Blackness to kind of push her forward and make her a fearless crusader, not just for civil rights, but for Black women in Hollywood, and for a great example of what perseverance and grit looks like.
Yeah. Situate for me, Nicole, situate her genius in this present American moment.
I think what's particularly inspiring to me about Hazel Scott's genius is that she had an incredible confidence in it. Being a virtuoso, teaching herself. Her mother taught her to play at 2 and 3. She was already a pro by the time she was 5 years old. Moving to America from Trinidad by the age of 4, and earning a spot at Juilliard, which was unheard of at the time. And this is 1920s America. So that kind of genius, I think, and that reliance on it, that confidence in it, I think is a lesson that we can all take, especially in times like this. So it's like when all else seems so dark, you kind of rely on your own talents.
Yep. You heard Nicole mention Adam Clayton Powell, to whom Hazel Scott was married, second wife. When we come forward in our conversation with Nicole and Gregory, I want to ask her, to what extent does Nicole believe that Hazel Scott's genius, there's that word again, for all these years has in fact been overshadowed by the iconography of Adam Clayton Powell? We'll talk about that and a great deal more. Of course, we'll talk about the screening, the free screening of the outdoor screening of this film in Harlem's Marcus Garvey Park this weekend. Just getting started with Gregory Gates and Nicole London as we celebrate Hazel Scott right now on Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on!
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Ron had a tax problem he just couldn't handle on his own.
I owed the IRS taxes for over 5 years, but I didn't have any money to pay the taxes.
Those years cost him dearly.
Most of it was fees and interest. It was horrible.
Ron finally called in the pros.
I called Optima Tax Relief, and boy, am I happy I did.
The leading tax resolution firm, Optima, is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. They've resolved over $1 billion for their clients. Ron was overjoyed.
They settled my account with the IRS. I was ecstatic. They are a lifesaver. They are. I am so happy.
Take Ron's advice and call Optima now for a free consultation.
Yeah, don't do like I did and wait. Call Optima Tax Relief. Do it now. You'll be ecstatic like me.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom? She started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Are you ready to be a part of the conversation that will help shape our nation's future? Get ready to join us for the Left Coast Forum, Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech, where progressive voices will come together to tackle the issues that matter most to working families across Los Angeles and beyond. From economic justice to climate action, from healthcare to housing, we're bringing together the brightest minds and most passionate advocates for real solutions and real change. With workshops, 2 major keynote addresses, and a closing reception with great music and good food. It's the Left Coast Forum, where your voice matters and your ideas take action. Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. Brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the LA Progressive. The future won't wait, and neither should you. Mark your calendar now to be there and be heard. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Hello there. I'm Hazel Scott. I'd like you to meet the members of my trio. There's Charlie Mingus on bass and Rudy Nichols on drums. We'd like to do our version of A Foggy Day for you. I was a stranger in the city. Out of town were the people I knew. I had that feeling of self-pity. What to do, what to do, what to do. The outlook was decidedly blue. But as I walked through the dreary streets alone, it turned out to be the luckiest day I know. A foggy day in London town had me up and it had me down. I viewed the morning with much love. The British Museum had lost.
It's not often that I can play a clip where the artist introduces himself or herself. I love that. I'm Hazel Scott. And this is my trio. Nicole, I was laughing. She said it so smoothly, as she should have, of course. But she just throws that name out. My bass player is a guy named Charlie Mingus. That was hilarious to me, Nicole.
Well, yes. I mean, she was the bigger name of the two.
Yeah, that's just that part is funny itself. She was at that time the bigger name of the two.
Yes, yes. She was huge. Before she met and married Adam Clayton Powell, she had been traveling all across America playing playing her, jazz classics, especially. She was obviously classically trained. She could play Mozart, she could play Chopin. But what was really interesting about Hazel is that she could also do plays on these famous works and jazz them up, what she called jazzing the classics. Mm-hmm. So it was, and she became incredibly popular, not just with her, I guess her technical ability, but also with this kind of verve and spirit that she played, these classical tunes. Yeah. And that's became her signature, and she was incredibly famous, and really well paid and respected.
Yeah. No, I just got a kick out of that. My bass player is a guy named Charlie Mingus. And so that was too much.
Up and coming.
Up and coming guy. Yeah. So you mentioned Adam Clayton Powell a couple times. I posed this question before the break. Let me give you a chance to opine on it now before I bring Gregory in this conversation. And that is, to what extent, all these years later, genius though she was, her work has been overshadowed by the iconography of Adam Clayton Powell.
Well, that's just one of the facets that her work and I guess her life has been overshadowed. I mean, when you have a figure like Adam Clayton Powell, there's not many that wouldn't be overshadowed by that. Yeah. He met her playing at Cafe Society. That's a club that she had been playing in New York. but part of their relationship was that she had kind of had to quit that type of work after getting married to him, and so that kind of reduced her visibility in that way. She'd already done 5 Hollywood movies, but her personal her personal strength and activism, kind of ended her Hollywood career early. And that's just another facet. She kind of was such a firebrand that it really got her into so much trouble that that's ties into the title of this film, The Disappearance of Miss Scott. She was at every turn, she was like, kicking down doors. And eventually those doors ended up being closed to her. And she ended up fleeing to Europe. So, in that way, Adam Clayton Powell, at the time she got married to him, he's an up and coming congressman. He didn't marry her until after he won that seat. And of course, they became this huge political couple, incredibly popular, good looking, young, successful, kind of a meld between the Barack Obama and Michelle and Beyonce and Jay-Z of their time. Their wedding was featured in Life magazine, which, not just the Black publications, but Life magazine itself is like, the standard bearer for American life and culture. So, once she ended up fleeing to Europe, largely by herself, she really began to fade from the public eye. And this was on the heels of McCarthyism.
Let me ask right quick whether or not whether or not we learn anything about any regrets she might have had. I'm not saying she did. Any regrets she might have had for closing on her Hollywood career. Again, the piece is called, the documentary is called The Disappearance of Miss Scott. It's one thing, again, to your point, anybody married Adam Clayton Powell is going to be overshadowed by him in that particular moment, obviously. But do we know anything about whether or not she had any regrets about that?
She's actually very kind of closed off about that, closed mouth around the idea of having regrets about the loss of her career. I think she really kind of took it as, I made the stances that I made and I'm not going to look back on them as regrets. She's like, I don't regret, standing up for Black women on a Hollywood set when they're being made to denigrate. She took on a fight that wasn't even her own and stood up and, made sure that these women were able to step forward and film, and which lasts forever, in dignity. And that ended her Hollywood career. She was blacklisted in the book Red Channels, and she testified before Congress, to clear her name, and that turned out to be the main cause of canceling the TV show. The first Black woman, the first Black person to have their own nationally syndicated TV show, kind of not unlike this program. So
I can thank Hazel Scott for this. I can thank Hazel Scott for this.
In part, she's just one of many, but the fact that show was destroyed and dumped in the Hudson River, as the legend goes, that's one of the reasons that we don't know her today.
Gregory Gates, thank you for your patience. I want to bring you in this conversation now as exec producer of ImageNation Outdoors Film and Music Festival, and I want to bring you in now. And let me frame where I want to go with you. We were talking earlier on today's program, actually a couple different times in a couple different conversations, about this moment that we find ourselves in where Black history is being trampled upon. I don't need to explain that to you or Nicole. You're brilliant. You follow the news. You're watching the same stuff I'm watching every single day, and the same stuff this audience is paying attention to. But I raise that only because it seems to me that the work of people, institutions like ImageNation is more important now than ever before. I feel the same way about Black media, in my lane, that our work, our witness, is more important now than ever before in a moment where the powers that be want to shut down any conversation about any telling of, any exposure to stories like that of Hazel Scott and other African Americans. And so it is the case that this weekend you have a free outdoor screening of this film in Harlem's Marcus Garvey Park. That's a whole other conversation that you're showing Hazel Scott, one great icon, in another great icon's park, Marcus Garvey. But just talk to me about what it means to be doing the work that you're doing in a moment like this, if you feel me and follow me, Gregory Gates, and I hope so.
Yes, I feel you and I follow you. Let me start this way. ImageNation was established in 1997 by Roy Katikama. Her vision was
Let me
provide.
stop. Yeah, Andy Faraji, y'all got to figure that out. That sounds horrible. Let's just take him offline real quick. I can't. Yeah, he sounds like he's underwater, and that's not going to work at all for the audience because I can't understand him, and I got headphones on, so I know they can't understand him. So we'll figure that out. While we're figuring out that phone line, Nicole, let me ask you that question because you obviously you can opine on that as well. You are not the exec producer of ImageNation Outdoors Film and Music Festival, but they are showing you a film this weekend. How important is it in a moment like this for this kind of work to be exposed? And again, you all are doing this. It's a free screening, but it just seems to me that this moment calls for more of this, where we have to empower and educate our own. Never mind the powers that be. If that makes sense to you, Nicole.
Well, I know absolutely. This is especially at a time like this. Screenings like this are so important. You know, these forwarding our history, making sure that people know it and can see it. You know, outside of the venues, I guess that could be possibly controlled. You know, this is this is our own efforts that we're doing to kind of keep our own people educated. I actually have two films screening this, quote unquote, this weekend.
Sure.
The other film I co-directed with Stanley Nelson, We Want the Funk, is screening this Thursday, followed up by Hazel Scott on Saturday. And to your point, these are so important because one of the things we highlight in The Disappearance of Miss Scott is that Martin Luther King said the first time he had ever sat in a desegregated audience was at a Hazel Scott show. And think of the impact of that on his activism, on his worldview. That this is, somebody that had put in her contract personally. This is not something that she could affect like a whole industry, but personally said, I'm not going to play a segregated audience. And he was able to sit in one and see that this is possible. And look, he picked up the ball and ran.
Yeah.
You could say. Who's to say who's not going to be in the audience in Harlem that could pick up the ball? Be inspired by something they've seen in these films, and make some change.
How was, to your point about Dr. King seeing her? How was Hazel Scott received in Black America during her heyday?
She was one of the queens of Black America, you could say. She was constantly featured in the Afro-American, on the Baltimore Sun and the Chicago Defender. There's not a week that goes by that she didn't have an article or a cover piece even. And of course, she was incredibly beautiful. So she was someone that especially Black America gravitated towards. I mean, I don't think it could be overstated how popular she was. She covered Jet magazine, she covered Ebony magazine, so she was a Sepia magazine, for those who don't know that one. So she was an incredibly popular figure in Black America at that time.
How hard did you have to work to unearth this research footage? Was it readily available, or did you have to work really hard to find it?
Well, because no copies of her show existed, it was I wouldn't say it was that hard in terms of how archival research goes.
Sure.
My biggest coup was to find footage of their wedding at the Cafe Society. I don't think that's ever been seen or hadn't been seen in a very long time. But Hazel had kept a really meticulous set of ephemera for herself. She and her son, Adam Clayton Powell III, who's still with us.
Sure.
And comes to screenings with us as well. She kept a manuscript of an unpublished biography that she'd been writing, autobiography. She kept a lot of clippings and photographs. So that was already a very rich trove of archival material to use, but also the European, for France especially, the French archives had so much Hazel Scott material because she did spend so much time in Paris. So that was a really great resource for us.
Say a quick word, since you mentioned it, and obviously have great respect for Stanley Nelson's work, so I'm glad you guys got together on this other project. Say a quick word about that project you did with Stanley that's also at this festival this weekend.
Oh yeah, so We Want the Funk. It's an examination of the impact and the roots of funk music. And just as much as The Disappearance of Miss Scott, this film is also needed. This music comes up at a time of great resistance and revolution, I guess you could say, in America. But also, it's a film that we wanted to make a film that felt like funk feels to listen to and to dance to. And you walk out of it feeling good, feeling a more positive feeling than you could have going in.
No, I can only imagine that. I've got 60 seconds left. That's all I got. Gregory Gates is back. We finally got the phone line worked out. Greg, in 60 seconds, just tell me why the work of festivals, black festivals like these, are more important now than ever, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sorry about the technical difficulty. That was a technical problem on my end. ImageNation was started in 1997 by Moy Ganti Kama. Back then, there was no Netflix or any other kind of platform where you can see black people films. Since then, it is more important now with the climate, the way the climate is today. So I think it's very important that we're showing movies like this, and I'm very happy and proud to show her film as well as other films we're doing in the festival this year. Please check out ImageNation.us to look up the full lineup.
ImageNation.us for the full lineup. I repeat, ImageNation.us. Glad we had at least an opportunity to say hello to Gregory Gates, and not just say hello, but to congratulate him and to thank him. Thank him sincerely for the work that he is doing with ImageNation Outdoors Film and Music Festival. And this weekend, if you're in the New York area, you can check out Nicole London's piece called The Disappearance of Miss Scott. She is an Emmy Award-winning and GRAMMY-nominated director of this documentary, and going to be a great weekend in New York at Harlem's Marcus Garvey Park. Nicole, congrats on the work. Thanks for the conversation. Good to have you on this program.
Oh, thank you so much, and I hope your listeners can make it out to the park.
I hope so. We are heard in New York, and so and for those who want to be in New York, are going to be in New York, or want to go to New York, headed to New York. Now you know there's something else you can do. The Disappearance of Miss Scott, showing this weekend at the ImageNation Outdoors Film and Music Festival at Harlem's Marcus Garvey Park. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
BET and PBS, The Tom Joyner Morning Show, and NPR, the cover of Jet and the cover of Time. #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list, 20 honorary doctorate degrees, a dozen NAACP Image Awards, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. From talk shows to talk radio, nobody's ever done it better. You like that? This is Tavis Smiley.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. States like California and New Mexico risk losing federal funds over truck drivers' English tests. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy announced the crackdown.
We are going to give these states 30 days to come into compliance, or we're going to look at federal funding.
This comes after an Indian immigrant driver licensed in both states caused a fatal crash in Florida. Maryland Democrats are condemning Freedom Caucus leader Ali Rock for calling Black Governor Wes Moore a ghetto governor. The Freedom Caucus shared the post despite backlash, while Moore's office says he's focused on fighting crime and growing the economy. And NFL star Tyreek Hill of the Miami Dolphins must pay his ex-wife Keita Vaccaro up to $50,000 a month, plus $500,000 in cash, legal fees, and costs for her Miami condo. The split comes after 17 months of marriage. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
In West LA on the 405 South at Olympic Boulevard, I got a report of a hit and run making its way over to the right shoulder. And on the 405 North at the Culver Boulevard off-ramp, I've got a report of some debris in the two right lanes. And we still have that Sigillard in Highland Park, 110 northbound of Marmion Way. It's that police activity. Only the left lane is open. It's a crawl from Avenue 43. And 10 eastbound before Fremont, the right lane is blocked.
Ignite your afternoons at Waba Grill's $5 happy hour with our 5-piece pork veggie dumplings and a value-sized premium beverage drink, like our tangy passion fruit lemonade. Enjoy $5 happy hour weekdays after 3 p.m. Only at Waba Grill.
Is this the tackle? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Angels manager Ron Washington met with his team before Monday night's game at Texas. He told his players he had quadruple bypass heart surgery on June 30th. It was the first time Washington spoke publicly about the health situation that forced him to leave the team on June 19th. The 73-year-old Washington, one of only 2 black managers in Major League Baseball, has been recovering at his home in New Orleans. Washington said he feels good, but he's been advised to sit out the remainder of the season. Washington hopes he can return next year. Bench coach Ray Montgomery will finish out the season as interim manager. After reconnecting with Washington, the Angels beat Texas 4-0. Venus Williams lost her first-round match Monday night in the U.S. Open to Karolina Muchova of Czechoslovakia. Muchova beat the 45-year-old Williams in 3 sets, 6-3, 2-6, and 6-1. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., inviting you to join me weekdays at 12 noon right after Tavis Smiley here on KBLA Talk 1580. As a law school graduate and a theologian with a firm grasp of our body politic given almost 2 decades in Congress, my show is the fresh new home of an authentic, uncompromised quest for transformation and salvation, both personal and collectively, as I vigorously interrogate the theological and symbolic meanings embedded in our society. I promise to leverage my knowledge of history, theology, and both international and domestic issues to imagine an inclusive vision for the future, which I hope will inspire all of us to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as a given, not just an aspiration. So join me weekdays at 12 noon right after Tavis Smiley for 2 hours of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know the United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time? Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a black and brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed the last half hour of today's program, and just enough time for a conversation about the abiding legacy of the last poets. They came together. We were just talking about this festival this weekend in New York at Marcus Garvey Park, and that's the site of a number of major events, including being the space where the last poets came together on May 19th, 1968, which was the anniversary of Malcolm X's birthday. It was at that time called Harlem's Mount Morris Park, but now it is Marcus Garvey Park, and I am delighted to be in conversation for a few moments here with Abiodun Oyewole, if I can say it. I never get that out. Umar Bin Hassan, Abiodun, of course, one of the founding members of the Last Poets and longtime member Umar Bin Hassan, join us right now. Brother Oyewole, how are you, sir?
I'm fine, brother. How you doing?
Man, if I complain I've been in great, I'm honored to be in conversation with you. And Umar Bin Hassan, how are you, sir?
Fine, thank you.
Good to have you on the program. Watching my time here. Abiodun, take me back to May 19, 1968, back to this park that's now, of course, called Marcus Garvey Park. Take me back to that day and how the Last Poets got together in that park.
Okay, well, that day was a special day, and actually it was an intimidation day for me because I was raised in Queens. And after they killed Dr. King on April 4th, 1968, I lost my mind. I really wanted to become a serial killer and kill every white person I saw. And David Nelson, he's a black Hebrew now, and he's changed his name to David. He had this idea of a collective of poets, and the idea came to him in 1967. And I thought it was a grand idea, but David's a great dreamer, and he'll have a dream, but he won't activate it. So I told him if he didn't get this group together, I was going to do something dangerous, and I was going to just get a gun and start shooting white folks. And so he said, "Don't do that, man. I'll put your name and my name and this brother who I met at Columbia University. I'll put our names on a program to perform at Malcolm's birthday celebration. It's going to be in Mount Morris Park." So we met at David's house. David had a apartment like right around the corner, actually across the street from the park. And I got a chance to meet Garland King because I'd worked with David doing a anti-poverty program that summer before the poets at 1967. We'd worked together. So I knew David well, but I had never met Kane. And Kane was the third person that made up the group. So we came together in David's house and decided on what we were going to do. I had come to Harlem about a week before that just to kind of get a vibe because being raised in Queens is not being raised in Harlem. Harlem is a whole other attitude.
Oh, yeah.
And the arrogance of black folks in Harlem was off the chain. And I was kind of afraid that I was going to get up on that stage and say something that they were going to treat me like they treat folks at the Apollo on amateur night.
Yeah.
And Sandman going to come and snatch. So I was really concerned about how I was going to perform in front of all the people in Harlem. And so I came to Harlem and I walked around. And brothers would be saying things like, "Yo, man, what's your thing, brother?" I said, "Oh, I'm a Black Panther." Or like, "What's your thing, brother?" "Oh, I'm in the Nation of Islam." So I said, "Oh, okay, I got it." So a thing meant, and it was so funny because our music always kind of gives you a heads up as to what's happening with black folks. And the song at that time was "It's Your Thing."
Oh yeah.
Do What You Do by the Ozzy Brothers. So I'm checking out the conversations and just walking around listening. And I said, "Oh, so thing is a revolutionary pronoun." So I wrote a poem entitled, "What is your thing, brother? Is it a black thing for black women and children? Will it build a black nation?" And it wasn't a great poem, but it talked about all the points that we were trying to make at that time. And then Kane had a poem entitled "Niggas Are Untogether People." And David had a poem entitled "Are You Ready, Black People?" So now the idea is that if we're going to go on stage, we have to go on stage as a group. And so I thought maybe we could sing behind something, but Kane couldn't hold the note if you handed it to him. David didn't have no voice. But I had seen this demonstration at Howard University, and they had an effigy of the president. The president's name at that time was Nesbitt, and they didn't like him. And they had an effigy of him hanging from a tree, and they were all going around the tree singing, "Are you ready, niggas? You got to be ready. Are you?" And I had never heard anything like that on television. The word niggas, it blew me away. So I told Kane and David, I said, "Listen, let's go up on stage singing 'Are You Ready, Niggas?' Because the poems that we had, they were kind of dealing with that concept. By the time we got, oh, and by the way, there was a brother named Hakeem there. He had an African dance group, and they had just performed before we were called on stage. And they were packing up to get off the stage. I told Hakeem to stay on the stage because I kind of felt having a drum beat behind us would help us get the rhythm and everything. So he stayed and he played behind us. And by the time we got to the middle of the stage chanting, "Are you ready, niggas?" there were like about 4,000 or 5,000 people in the park. Everybody was saying, "Are you ready, niggas? You got to be ready." And I did my poem, David did his, and Kane did his, and the group was started, but we didn't have a name.
Wow. You're right. I'm going there. You didn't have a name, so how did it become the Last Poets?
The name came because, well, it was Kane's idea that we should have a place. He said, we have a place in Harlem, we can endear ourselves to the people. So we had a place that was called the East Wind, mainly because we felt that the philosophy that we were going to impart was coming from the East, not the West, because the West was a problem. So the place that we had was between 5th and Madison Avenue, which happens to be the east side of Harlem.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a place called the East Wind, and it was David's job to find a name. Kane had suggested that we should be called the East Poets. I thought that was kind of corny because there were kids, there was the East Side kids, and I just didn't think that was cool. So I didn't like that. I didn't write off on that. But David read a couple poems. He read a poem by Sterling Brown called Strongmen Keep On Coming. He read a poem by Margaret Walker, My People. And then he read a poem by Kelpesi Kokosili. Nobody could say his first name, so they called him Little Willie Kokosili. and he was a poet, and he's in a very beautiful book. It's an anthology put together by Leroy Jones and Larry Neal. That's before Leroy Jones was the Mary Baraka.
Oh, sure.
And the anthology is called Black Fire. And it had some of the best poets of that day, essays, plays, by just all the cats that were writing stuff.
Right.
That's stuff in that anthology. And on page 237, I believe it's 237, there's a poem called Towards a Walk in the Sun, written by Little Willie Kokosili. And it talked about the conditions that South Africans had to live under the apartheid regime, and which was horrible because in their own land, they were treated very badly. And he was writing about it, and you could feel his frustration and his anger.
Right.
At the end of the poem, he says, "This wind you hear is the birth of memory. When the moment hatches in time's womb, there will be no art talk. The only poem you will hear will be the spear point pivoted into the punctured marrow of the villain, and the timeless native sun dancing like crazy to retrieve rhythms of desire, fading into memory." And David Nelson added, "Therefore, we are the last poets of the world." So we had a creed, and we had our name, and we were off and running.
I love the backstory. How they got to be called the Last Poets. When we come forward, we'll continue our conversation with Abiodun Oyewole. I'm going to get that right for this day is over with. And Umar Bin Hassan of the Last Poets. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your Senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Thinking about going electric? Now is the perfect time. Electric vehicles cost less to run, don't need gas, and need fewer repairs than gas-powered cars. You can also save with federal and state tax credits, and in some areas, qualify for rebates on home charging stations. To learn more, visit www.breathesocal.org. That's www.breathesocal.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Freedom is an endless meeting, so let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
When the revolution comes. When the revolution comes. When the revolution comes. When the revolution comes, some of us will probably catch it on TV with chicken hanging from our mouths. You'll know it's revolution because there won't be no commercials. When the revolution comes. When the revolution comes. When the revolution comes. Preacher pimps are gonna split the scene with the communion wine stuck in their back pockets. Faggots won't be so funny then, and all the...
Continuing our conversation with the founding member of the Last Poets, Abiodun Oyewole, and longtime member Umar Bin Hassan. Glad to have them both on this program. Before I get to Umar in just a second here, Abiodun, tell me, when did you guys know? You got together at that park back in '68, but when did y'all know that y'all actually had something that would resonate with everyday people?
Brother, the first time we went on the stage was outrageous. The people embraced us the moment we opened our mouths. I'm telling you, man, when we walked on that stage chanting, "Are you ready, niggas?" everybody in the park started chanting it like they had a script. It was amazing. We were so embraced from the very first time we got together. It blew my mind. We got a gig the first time we got together. We had a gig that next Friday at New York University at Loeb Center. I'll never forget it. And we still did not have a name. Yeah. I mean, it was amazing. It was almost like Black folks were waiting for that kind of collective to actually emerge, because they endorsed us immediately. We were loved from the. We didn't go through a trial period.
Yeah,
we were accepted from the moment we walked on that stage.
You on fire on day one? Yeah.
I must say, the one thing I've learned about my people: when Black people love you, or when they can feel you, they feel you honestly. Yeah. We don't fake the funk, so to speak. We embrace stuff from the moment. If it's not right, they'll let you know immediately. If it's not right, if it's shaky, they'll let you know. And if they love it, they'll let you know.
Yeah.
Black people let us know from the very first time we got together, we need you guys.
The Last Poets are widely considered the godfathers of hip-hop. Their politically charged poetry delivered over, as you heard and well know, I would call it taught percussion and jazz-inflected music, has laid the groundwork for the genres that would follow. When we come forward in our remaining moments, I want to ask Umar Bin Hassan about the impact that the Last Poets have had on everybody else. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Founded in Los Angeles in 1986, litigation powerhouse Quinn Emanuel has deep roots in the Los Angeles community. Since 2007, we have litigated some of the largest fires on the West Coast. We are proud to be the only AmLaw 100 firm in the country to represent wildfire victims, giving affected individuals, families, and businesses the same focus and individualized attention we devote to our Fortune 500 clients. BTI Consulting has repeatedly recognized Quinn Emanuel as among the 4 law firms in-house counsel least like to oppose in any litigation, and we are often deemed the most feared. And after securing over $80 billion for our clients in various matters firm-wide, we understand why. If you have been affected by the recent wildfires in Altadena and the Palisades and would like to discuss your situation further, please contact wildfire support at QuinnEmanuel.com or call us at 213-443-3050. Quinn Emanuel is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for. For this free information, call 800-433-8909. 800-433-8909. That's 800-433-8909. Or simply visit godra.com.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
Much of my time he was sitting away from me. Brother Umar Bin Hassan talked to me about the impact that the last poets have had on genres, a number of genres that have followed.
Well, I would like to thank you for being on the show, and I want to first of all thank my brother-in-law for holding this phone for me, so I could get this done. You know, but we've been out there for a while, so we've all been, you know, young poets back in the day. We were all Abiodun ourselves and so on. And we did what we thought we was doing. And we felt that the people loved us and we loved them. And we just did what we thought we was doing wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. But the impact, what would you say about the impact you've had on other artists down through the years, though?
So many, you know, I don't know, man. There's so many people. I can say yes and no again. You know, like my brother just said, Kanye is possibly one of them. There's a whole lot of other ones. But we were, you know, responsible for just, you know, just to do the words, you know, and just express ourselves with the black community. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Abiodun, what is the lasting legacy? Y'all ain't done yet. You got new stuff out now, but what is the lasting legacy of the last poets?
You know, the fact that we have set the tone for you know, poetry before we were on was kind of quiet.
Yeah,
poetry was something that you would go to a tea room and you'd have tea and maybe some crackers and you would whisper and you would be very quiet and people would take out their poems and read very lovely. And it was a nice, quiet affair. The last we made it noisy.
Mm.
We put brass knuckles on the words. We punch you in the face with the words. and that was, we made poetry a war cry. And our effect on poetry throughout the world has been absolutely amazing. Umar and I have been to a whole lot of places on this planet. Everywhere we have been, there is a poetry group, and most of them know about the last poets. And they have been affected by us because when they talk about how we're the progenitors of hip hop, the one thing that we didn't get on stage and read poetry. We got on stage and we performed it. We didn't take out no paper and read anything off a page. We would give it to you straight. look in your face and do the poem. And that was not done before. When Langston Hughes and County Cullen and all those cats and Claude McKay back in the day were doing poetry, they read their poems. They didn't perform them. We would do the poem. We became the poem itself. And hip hop did the same thing. Those characters, you're not gonna see Nas pulling out no paper to do a rap or Dougie Fresh or Rakim. Those cats, they did their thing straight up. They would look in your face. They would have a direct eye contact with their audience. There was no wall between us. That was one of the things that we gave and had an effect. And I always give Jalal, who's no longer with us, I give him credit for being a very important person that has influenced hip hop, because every single thing Jalal did was in a rhyme. If you had a conversation with Jalal for 5 minutes, it would turn into a rhyme.
I'm watching my time. I don't want to cut you off. I got 60 seconds left. Say a quick word about the latest project called Africanism.
What do you say?
I said I got 60 seconds left. I didn't mean to cut you off. Say a quick word about your latest project, Africanism.
Oh, that's old wine in new bottles.
Yeah.
A brother named Tony Thorpe decided that he wanted to take some of the old classics and redo it with some Afro beats behind it. And he did a good job because, and it seems to be pumped up in West Africa, which is no place that we've ever had anything promoted that much.
Yeah.
So I was very happy to hear that. But that's all it is. It's like Niggas Are Scared of Revolution and New York, and Two Little Boys. All the classic stuff from our very first album has been redone. So it's like old wine in new bottles. That's what it's about.
I love it.
And I'm happy about that.
The project is called Africanism, the latest project, old wine in new bottles, as Abiodun put it. And I'm delighted to have been in conversation with Abiodun Oyewole, a founding member of the Last Poets, along with Umar Bin Hassan. Again, a whole lot of people in the music business have benefited from the stuff they did all those years ago. Thank you both. Congratulations. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Just like that, 3 hours gone. Back here tomorrow to do it all over again, Lord willing. Until tomorrow, thanks for listening to Tavis Smiley. And as always, keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Texas lawmakers are advancing a bill allowing private lawsuits against out-of-state abortion pill providers.
Liberal states have gone so far as to pass measures shielding rogue actors and ignoring our state laws.
That's Ashley Leonards with Texas Right to Life. The Senate-backed measure targets companies mailing pills to Texas women. Black Maryland Attorney General Anthony G. Brown and 17 other states are still